I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTracker.com, and today we're going to install the Vortex race clip-ons on our 2018 M4 X-Star Suzuki GSX-R1000 STG project bike. Ergonomics for the control is a big deal. Adjustable rear sets, clip-ons are another huge one. You want to get the controls in the most favorable position for your riding style and your body type. We're all put together different and we all have different preferences. OE clip-ons are locked into a very narrow range of operation, okay? It's hard to get the tilt down on the brake lever and the clutch lever that you want. There's not a lot of room. It's hard to bring the master cylinder in far enough so you're grabbing the lever more towards the end to increase the mechanical advantage. All those things are a challenge with the OEM clip-ons. Also, if you fall down at the track and you break the bar with an OEM clip-on, well, you need to pull the whole top triple and replace the entire unit. Remember, it's one piece. With these Vortex race clip-ons, you fall over, you bend the bar, all you have to replace is just the bar, so it makes your life a whole lot easier, gets you back on the track a lot faster. This is the same part that they're running on all the M4 X-Star Suzuki race bikes you see on the Moto America grid, the 600s, as well as the super bike that's ridden by Jake Lewis at this point. Good quality stuff, quality machining. We're going to show the parts before we install them so you can get an idea of what they look like in person. The video does justice a little more than the product pictures will, for sure. Tons of adjustability, install time. This is a project. You gotta pull your top triple clamp off to get the stock cuffs off and to get these cuffs on. The Vortex cuffs are one piece with one seam. They're not split halves like we see with some of the other aftermarket clip-ons, so it's important to understand that. Positives, negatives with that. Realistically, in a crash, you almost never damage a cuff. Almost never. I don't know that I've ever damaged a cuff in a crash, and I've crashed motorcycles almost every way you could imagine at this point. So really not a negative. The clamping force with the one-piece cuff, right, is more OEM-like. Okay, so it's a lot of clamping force, don't need a lot of torque on it. So there's some pros, there's some cons. End of the day, race-proven part. Take your time doing this. The controls have to be right. You have to check all the clearances when you're done, because remember, you're modifying from stock. You're moving the position of the throttle, of the brake, of the clutch, all these things. You want to make sure that they're going to work with your race body work, or if you have OEM fairings on the bike, that the clearances are good. You'll be able to get it there. Just make sure you leave yourself enough time before your ride that you have planned to get it done properly. Part of this project requires removing the upper triple clamp. We've got pinch bolts here at the top, and then we have this really good looking nut here in the center. I don't have a socket or a wrench that fits that exactly. I mean, it's got a little bit of a different shape to it. So what I'm going to do to attempt to protect the edges, it's got this foil tape here. I'm going to grab a length of that, wrap it around here, and then use a 36 mil socket to break that loose. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out, but we're going to give it a whack and see how that goes. Okay, 36 mil socket. Go ahead and see if I can't get that over that foil tape. Definitely on there a little tighter now. Just hoping it's going to protect the edges. 1/2 inch ratchet. Based on the condition of that foil tape, I mean, it looks like that may have worked. May not be a half bad idea. Now we have the pinch bolts at the top of the clamp here. Those are typically going to be a 6. I guess we'll just break those loose now. We'll go here. Definitely a little torque there. That backed off. Over here, do the other side. It's like that brake reservoir is going to be in the way. We're just going to see if we can't move that right now. Loosen up the Motion Pro Rev 2 throttle that we just got done putting on. Rotate that out of the way. This is giving me a little better access. Top pinch bolt. Should be loose enough that we should be able to rotate that back over. Okay, top triple pinch bolts are loose. We also need to loosen up the stock clip-on fasteners. Okay, the reason for that is the one on this side, it just with its position, okay, there's going to be a little bit of interference. It's not going to allow the triple to jump off. Okay, it's just going to kind of capture it, put just enough pressure on it. Can't get it off. While we're at it, we may as well break the other side loose. With this video, we are actually doing two projects. Okay, and we're filming the segments individually and then including them in each install. It's two independent parts that we're doing here. One's a set of Vortex Clip Ons, the other one's a key switch eliminator. So you may hear me make reference to a couple of different things, or I may take a step that you wouldn't normally need to take for one or the other, and I'll try to point that out. Now for the top triple, once you have the clip-ons positioned, just kind of grab onto it. You'll see I also slid the upper off, just so we had a little more operating room. So I'm putting pressure on that top fork cap while I'm pulling up on the top triple, like so. Okay, once we got that top triple off, all right, clip-ons are loose right now. We can go ahead and break these controls down, get them off the OEM clip-ons. These Vortex clip-ons that we're installing today, they are the same ones our race team partner, M4X Suzuki, runs in their bikes. The design of the Vortex is a cuff. It's a split cuff. It's not two halves. Just kind of cover that real quick. While I'm thinking about it, give you a look at the product here too, right? Very similar to the OE design. You know, some of the other aftermarkets have two halves that bolt together. There's pros and cons to this. If you damage the cuff, you're pulling the top triple clamp to replace this. How often do you damage the cuff in a crash? Well, I don't know that I ever have, and I've crashed a couple of times here and there, so is Max now. But you can replace the bar, okay? Just like you can on the ones that are halved. Really lightweight, quality machining. The way the bars come in the kit, the end plugs, none of them are installed. So if you're going to, insert bar ends or something in there, you need this tube open and hollow, right? You have the option to do that without having to pull them out. You can just save those. So good quality product, looks great. Okay, back on point now. Let's go ahead and break these controls down. Our brake master. Motion Pro throttle that we just put on the other day is also used by our race team partner. Pretty excited to get a some laps in at Grattan Raceway this weekend after the adjustments I made to the controls on the bike. Hopefully this weekend I get to spend my time riding and not wrenching for my little buddy. Okay. Once I've got everything loose, slide it up like so. Now the throttle. I have to unscrew the switch pod here first. You know, the big advantage is with the aftermarket clip-ons is going to be replacing the bar in a crash. Very easy to do. As compared to the OE, you tip over and you bend or break this bar, you need to pull the top triple. You have to get the entire cuff off. It's a one-piece unit. So that would be one of the biggest advantages. You also gain a higher degree of adjustability. With Vortex too, they have an option in terms of downward angle. I'm using the 7-degree downward angle, which is the most common. They also have a 0. Okay, so if you want your bars pretty flat, you can do that with Vortex. Slide that out. Okay, while we're here, we'll just go ahead and drop the cuff on. You want to make sure that you install this so that, remember we talked about that downward angle, so that the bars are going to be on that downward angle, and this is the correct way. Just kind of let that slide down the fork tube. Now we'll go over to the clutch side and break that one down. All right, over here to the clutch side now. Just going to snug this up just for a second. Just going to help me loosen everything up, get the grip off. I'm going to reuse this grip. I replaced these at the beginning of the season. I like the grips that are on there, so I want to keep using them. Use the blowgun, the air compressor, to get that off. Loosen up our clutch perch. Bar end. Okay, once I've got all that done, let's go ahead and get this off the fork tube, turn it over, make it a little easier to get those screws out of the switch pod. For now, we will be reusing the switch pod. Later on this year, we will be introducing a new product from one of our favorite brands that allows you to eliminate stuff like this for a race bike, right? Customizable switches. There will be some that are just pre-made too for common applications. Really looking forward to that. But for now, we'll just reinstall this because I need this on the bike, the mode switch. And from here, you can separate the halves. We've already got that clutch perch loosened up. Got a little grip glue there, kind of restricting that. Loosen this up a little bit more. All right, there you go. Just drop this cuff on now too. That fall down into position. Okay, once you got the clip-on cuffs on, we'll reinstall our top clamp. If you're paying attention, you're going to notice we're missing something. That is the key switch. I eliminated that, man. Part of this project here, it's a little bit multiple things at one time. I did the Woodcraft key switch eliminator. And it's really cool that we're going to use that hole for. Go ahead and use your rubber mallet. get that into position. You can see how I kind of put a little pressure on the forks there, just to get that to dip over. You can hear the change in tone once you have it down all the way with the rubber mallet. Okay, like that. Okay, once you get the top triple clamp back on, let's get that steering stem nut. Of course, the washer is between the clamp and the nut. We're going to torque this to 65 foot-pounds. Video Steve's like, dude, you haven't ever used a torque wrench. Why are you doing it now? And I said, well, I don't really know. Just felt like I wanted to. Okay. All right, we'll get that set to 65. You can see I still have that aluminum on there that I used to kind of shield that nut. I'm just gonna put a little bit of torque to them. I'm not gonna tighten it all the way just yet. Okay, I just ran it down a little bit. You know, I'm not gonna tighten these really. I'm just gonna put just a little bit of torque to them. Just kind of get everything stable here. Now that I know that that's held all the way down on the steering stem. Let that go against our stop. There it is. Let's see if that tape worked. Ha! That nut looks awesome. Dig that. When I was torquing these bolts initially, even when it broke them loose, you could hear all that creaking that's going on. I think all that is the edge of the fastener rubbing against the triple. So what I'm going to do is a little Maxima MPPL. See if that calms it down a little bit. Didn't put it all over the threads, just on the edge here where it contacts that top triple, and see if that quiets it down. All that friction and that noise too, probably going to have a negative impact on the torque too, so we'll see if this makes it look better. So 16.5. All right, 16.5. I'd say marginally better at best. Perfectly even, right? 16, just fork tube, not cap on either side, so that part is good to go. Nice and even. Okay, now let's go ahead and slide that cuff up against the bottom of the top clamp. Everything looks good, there's no interference. Just run these fasteners down, just put just the tiniest little bit of torque. So they kind of hold themselves there. You can see it doesn't really take much. I spun them around to make it a little bit easier to run them down. Go to the other side, do the same thing. Sits nice and flush, no problems. All right, rotate it over. That's just enough to hold them in place. I want to put the plugs in the end of the tube now. Just got to kind of drive that in there. Clip-ons are just one of those things. There's a lot of little finite adjustments. You're changing position of stuff that's really important. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's mock this up, right? Let's push the bar through our clutch perch, like so. I typically run my bars as long as I can. All right, I want to make sure that the plug is all the way through so we're capturing the whole aluminum bar itself. Put a little bit of torque on this just to hold it in place. Like so. Okay. That switch pod, we're going to have to drill for this. Okay, so we're going to want to establish that spot. Where is the spot we want to drill? And then of course the grip. I will also run the grip all the way out to the edge of the bar. We'll go ahead and install that now. Get a little grip glue in here. Just kind of drizzle it inside the grip. Just run that around a little bit, make sure you got it evenly distributed. Clutch side is much easier than the other side, and just push it over. Let's be ready to clean up the excess. Okay, just kind of get it right about there. I like to turn it just a little bit. That ensures that it's distributed evenly. And once this sets up, this is, you know, what they do from the factory. From the factory, they're using grip glue on almost all applications. The Suzuki from the factory on the throttle side did not use grip glue. It had a special grip, special throttle tube that had notches on it that basically held it in place, but it did use grip glue over here on the clutch side. Okay, and there we go. A little safety wire on that and let it sit. Okay, once you have the grip on, right, you know, we're establishing length of controls. The switch pod needs to go right next to the grip, and then from there, we're going to have some adjustability with our clutch perch. We need to drill for this. There's a locator hole right here, or I'm sorry, a tab. You need to have a hole for that to ride in. In order to find the distance from the grip to here, I'm going to measure in millimeters to the center of that tab and the edge of this switch pod. And we're looking, I'm going to pretend like I can see this very clearly. That's about 42 millimeters right now. Let's make some room. I looked at the OE clip-on for reference, and the hole is basically located at the top, leaning just ever so slightly forward. Okay, so we're going to try and replicate that as closely as possible here. Okay, let's get the switch pod installed here. All right, that looks all good. It's going to be a lot easier to put the screws in if I loosen this up just a bit. Rotate it around. Okay, just kind of roll it over. And we'll get the screws started and then run them down. Okay. Turn the bar until you get that mode switch in the position where you want it, where it looks appropriate. Right about there is going to be good. Okay, now the clutch, you can see, look at this, we've got a lot more bar to work with here than you do OE. Okay, so we can really get that clutch lever in the spot that is most appropriate to suit our riding style. Okay, everybody's a little different preferences. I'm going to start right there. And we'll tweak this when we ride the bike for the first time, of course. Okay, and then bar angle. Just to start with, as a point of reference, if you remember this tab right here, there's a hole in the bottom of the triple this went into, and that's just inside that triple, okay, the edge of it. So I want to find an angle that's fairly similar. Right about there looks good. Okay, and this is just a starting point, nothing more. Make sure the cuff is all the way against the bottom of the triple, which it is. And we'll put nice, even torque on these cuffs. There is a lot of clamping force here. Okay, you do not need to get crazy with these. They just need to be even with a reasonable amount of torque. Now we're ready to go over and work on our throttle side. Okay, now let's begin assembling the throttle side. You'll note I've already slid a bar in here. Just tighten these a little bit. I want to establish an angle for the cuff. Made sure the cuff is all the way up against the bottom of the triple. Comparing it to what I already have on the clutch side, trying to work the gap up here. I did use the clip-on, the OE one, to just establish a good baseline. I found a spot that I think is a good starting point. This isn't the end point, right? There's a lot of fine-tuning to come after. This is just a place to begin. It's going to allow us to work through the rest of the process. From here, I'll go ahead and snug up this clip-on cuff, and when we come back, we'll be assembling the controls on this bar. Okay, let's begin by putting just a little bit of multi-purpose grease, just a very thin film, inside our throttle tube. Okay, this is the Motion Pro one here. Even if you have a stock one, I recommend doing the same thing. From here, I'm going to slide the bar through. Just push that bar through the throttle tube. You know what? I don't want the grease to have any negative impact on the clamping force, so I'm just going to clean it off. The portion of the tube that's passing through. That's just a little bit of the Maxima suspension clean. Once you've done that, go ahead and push it into the cuff. Compare it to the other side, so you get the bar length pretty much the same. And we'll go ahead and snug this up. If you are using your OEM throttle, with these clip-ons, you're going to have to drill a locator hole just like we showed you on the other side. So you're aware of that. The Motion Pro controls, the Rev 2, do not require the use of that. Okay, now we know the throttle previously rode right about here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and snug that up. You know, once again, building from the end. Okay, brake master cylinder now. And this is one of the things I'm really looking forward to is with the aftermarket bars, I'm going to be able to put the master cylinder in the place where I want it, right? I like to slide the master cylinder in, so I'm kind of grabbing the lever as close to the end as ergonomically makes sense. It's more leverage that way, less force required for braking. With a master cylinder like this, you're always going to tighten the top clamp all the way, and the final torque will be done with the bottom one. Okay, the brake reservoir. You know, the first idea that I came up with, a little spacer and putting it on top here, well, that worked out just great until I put the bodywork back on the bike. Like I said earlier, you really need to check all your clearances, right? Your controls, make sure everything is operating as designed before you ride it. And as soon as I got the upper on and started sweeping the bars, this was touching right there. So I switched it up a little bit. I took it off this mounting point. I got a longer bolt for this forward hole. Ran that all the way through. There were enough threads sticking through the other side that I was able to put the bracket underneath the clip-on cuff and then put a locking nut underneath there to hold it up. Fits great. That's the OE bracket. No restrictions now with the sweep. So, what are our final steps here? You want to get them as even as humanly possible. Motion Pro has a really cool clip-on alignment tool that I used to get this as even as I could. I'm going to start with the bars a little wider than they were from the factory. I typically like the bars longer and a little bit wider than the stock setting. So this is going to be nice. Check for free motion, unrestricted, side to side. The biggest thing I can stress, it's going to be this throttle. You know, you want to make sure that throttle return is just right at every single position. I would also encourage after your first ride, when you come back in the pits or if you're street riding after your first ride, get it back in the garage. Let's get the tools out and let's check the torque on all the fasteners to make sure everything is still tight and it has not moved. Once you settle on a position for the clip-ons and you're like, that is it, that's exactly where I want it to be. Like I said, take that self-centering punch, just a little mark on that top triple clamp, right there where the cuff comes together, the seam in the cuff, can go a long way when you're working on the bike and you need to get it back together quick in a hurry. You find those two marks, line them up, and you're good to go. That's a nice little tip. There you have it. This is the Vortex clip-on install on our 2018 Suzuki GSX-R1000R STG project bike.